It's taken 2 years, but life is slowly getting back to normal after the pandemic start. For school students who lost time learning in person, who are behind in their studies, their friend groups have changed, school seems more difficult. Family relationships can be a challenge too, and add to that the intensity for some students of having to apply for college and getting accepted. Understandably, young people may still have feelings of uncertainty and anxiety. A Newark nonprofit organization is stepping in with advice to create safe spaces to help process those emotions with students. And our guest today is Ron Chaluisan. He is executive director of the Newark Trust for Education, and he's been with the Trust since 2016. Before that, he was a teacher and a principal in New York City schools. Ron, welcome and thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me today.
You are welcome. The timing now with students, and we're talking about all ages or a specific age group?
And we're looking at all ages. The New York Trust for Education works with families of young people, starting from birth all the way through 18 years old.
Wow, that's impressive. That is important. So the organization has been around, 11 years?
It's been 11 years, yes.
And I'm sure along the way, the various challenges, this one has to be the biggest. So what's going on now? Do you zero in on certain needs, or are you going through a program of how you're going to help people? How has it changed with the end of the pandemic?
Sure. So we really do start with the children, with the young people, and really think about where they are, where they live, where they play, where they learn. So we have some work that really focuses on families, and we have some work that focuses on early learning centers, and then other work that's in schools. But the overall umbrella for our work is this notion of creating safe and supportive learning environments for young people. And really what that means is spaces where young people can form a relationship with an adult, have the ability to talk, have the ability to be listened to, and their agency, their ability to make decisions is really nurtured. Those are the key elements to all of the work that we do.
The impact of COVID on mental health of young people, I listed just a few things that they're having to deal with. Could you expand on that, what you're seeing?
Sure. So I think that the biggest thing has just been that for so many of our young people, and for us as adults, our routines really have been broken. We've been forced into isolation, and being in isolation means that many of the things that we do just as human beings, our soul in essence, our ability to form relationships, to be up close with other people, to see people face to face, all of those things have really been greatly diminished. And so for us, the question starts to become, one, in those spaces, while there is isolation, how do you really help young people make it through that time? And right now, just most importantly, how do you transition back, right? And it's not even back, right? Because we're never going to go back. How do you move forward from this experience of the last 2 years? And I think that the biggest lesson we have learned from listening to young people is that 2 years have gone by, and that seems so something that doesn't need to be said, but it is something that really does have to be said, because the 9-year-old boy who went to school 2 years ago in the 4th grade is not the 11-year-old boy who's now in the 6th grade in the same or a different school. So remembering that is important, and thinking about how we interact with them at this different ages is very important.
What signs are you looking for?
Well, all of the signs that, the CDC has a very good site that talks about the different signs that we should as adults look at, but things like being changes in behavior. So sometimes we think about young people withdrawing, which is certainly isolating themselves even more, which is certainly a sign. But any change in behavior, for a young person who was maybe a little bit more quiet prior to the pandemic, who's suddenly behaving differently, that might be a sign. So a change in behavior is something that's important. I think the notion also of how that child forms relationships, right? We're out of practice, right? We really are out of practice in doing that. And we have to remember that as adults, we have very differing opinions about what's happened over the last 2 years. And young people look at those signs. And so as an educator, as a person working with young people, we always have to think about what are the adults in this young person's life's beliefs? How have they acted on those beliefs? And how is this child entering the educational process again?
So just because I want to make sure people know how to get in touch with you, the Newark Trust for Education, you have a series of webinars for help coming up. It's just how does it all work that there's a parent university program? Just how do you connect with people? What should they do if they need your help?
Sure. So one, we do have a website, which is a simple one. It's newarktrust.org, all one word, newarktrust.org, and we do post on that. I would recommend, though, that our Facebook pages are much more up to date and in the moment. And so again, Newark Trust on Facebook, and NTE Early Learning is our for very young families. That's the Facebook page for that. So those are particular pieces that are important. You mentioned the Parent University, which is a really wonderful collaboration. The Newark Board of Education runs the Parent University. They have a series of series, so 3 to 4 sessions on multiple topics. We are supporting one of those topics, which is on this one, creating safe and supportive learning environments. If families are interested, they can go to the Newark Board of Education's webpage, and they have a listing for the full year from January through June of all of the webinars that are being offered, and you could register for those webinars on their site. They're a wonderful series of community-based collaborations with the Board of Education that have a many different options for families thinking about what to do at this time with their children.
Ron Chaluisan, Executive Director of the Newark Trust for Education, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate what you've had to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me this afternoon.
For more information on the Newark Trust for Education, go to our website, cbsnewyork.com.